What's going on, gang? We have an exciting show today. I'm going to be talking about subject to investing. I'm going to explain all the details that you may want to know about subject to. Give me 1 second and we'll get started. Let me know if you can hear me, guys. All right, gang, this is Mike with MrNoFluff.com, and today I want to talk about subject to real estate investing. I'm going to talk about in detail all aspect about subject to investing. Now, first and foremost, what is subject to investing? I hear that all the time. Simply put, subject to investing is a seller financing where the seller becomes your bank. Another way to put it, subject to investing is a strategy where the seller deeds you the property. In other words, the seller gives you the ownership of the house with the debt, with the loan staying in place. So the existing loan does not get cashed out, nor do I assume it. So again, I don't assume the loan, nor do I pay off the loan. The existing loan stays right in place. So simply put, subject to is this creative real estate strategy that allows real estate investors to buy houses right from sellers direct without a bank or credit. Now, let's talk about some of the benefits of the subject to. First and foremost, it allows you to buy or get into the real estate investing without banks. It allows you to, now why does it allow you to get into real estate investing without banks? Because you bypass the banks and you use the seller's existing mortgage, because the seller already went and got a loan from the bank. So you use the seller's existing mortgage to do your deal. So you don't need a bank. Another benefit of subject to is that I don't need the purchasing money to buy the property. For example, if I'm looking at this house behind me, for example, and it's $400,000, I don't need to come up with the whole $400,000. All I need to come up with is whatever I negotiate with the seller, because the seller back there has a mortgage already on their home. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to step into the seller's shoes and just take over the payments. So that's another benefit, that I don't have to use a bank. I don't have to use my credit. The reason I don't have to use my credit is because the seller already has an existing mortgage, and I'm just taking over their payment. I'm not assuming it. I don't have to qualify for it. It's not like a car lease where if you want to take over the lease, Juicy, if you want to take over the lease, you have to go qualify. It's not like that at all. And three, I don't need the whole purchase price to buy the property. So I'm just giving you 3 benefits of seller financing. Now, there's so many different ones. Let me give you another favorite one, the amortization. When I buy a house, let's say from a bank, they do some kind of scheme called 30-year amortization or 15-year amortization. Juicy. What that means is that for the first few years of ownership, usually 6-7 years on a 30-year mortgage, almost 10 years, all the payments that I'm making is going to interest versus principal deduction. Principal means the balance that I owe. So they're not reducing that. So the bank, simply put, is getting all their money up front in the interest the first 10 years. That's the amortization. When I buy a house subject to, let's say the seller's been living in the home for 10 years, guess what? They're the one that paid all off the interest. Now, when I make payments on the house, on their loan, I am getting principal reduction, because after a certain period of time, the payments are going to be towards the principal versus interest. Okay. Now, guys, I can go on and give you all day long benefits of subject to. If you guys want to learn more about the benefits, leave a comment and I'll do a video about all the benefits of subject to. I can just go on and on. Now, we talked about what is a subject to. We talked about what are the benefits of a subject to. Now, let's talk about something that I hear all the time. Why would anyone want to sell their home this way? Okay. Now let's just talk about a couple of situations that my students are working right now. So let's talk about these examples that are working right now. So it's fresh in my mind. Okay, in my profit sharing. If you're interested, MrNoFluff.com. We work together, me and you, to find these deals in your backyard. So, for example, we have this one seller. Okay, he's in Florida, right? And the situation is, well, let's talk about this other seller that's in Fort Worth, Texas. So we have this seller in Fort Worth, Texas. This fresh is on my mind. The seller is motivated because her husband has died. The seller is motivated because they have moved out of the house. Okay, so now the property, the loan balance is 120, 124, somewhere around there. The value of the home is 164. Okay, so you can see the spread in there, 124, 164. That spread is called the equity. Now this seller has husband died, doesn't want to live in this home no more. Is sad for her. She's already vacant. This is a perfect example where a subject to will come into play. The seller is just emotionally involved in this property. Her husband passed away. She doesn't want to deal with it. She has significant, or not significant, but decent amount of equity, marginal equity, what I would call, okay, 25 plus. And she's already moved out. She's already found a new home to move into, and the house is vacant, and she's making payments on it. Okay, this is a perfect deal for a subject to, where the seller is motivated and they're willing to just let us just take over their payments. Now, that's one example. Let me talk about another example in Florida, a seller that one of my students brought to me, and I was talking to the seller to help them close the deal for my student. So if you're my profit sharing, not only do you get one-on-one coaching, I even fund your deals, and I'll also sometimes help you talk to your seller to get the deal for you. Okay, it doesn't get any better than that, because my interest and your interest are aligned. When you cash checks, that's when I cash my checks. So I want to help you in. Okay, so I was talking to the seller in Florida, 3-bedroom house, pretty new home, maybe like just 2 years old. And I asked her, why do you want to, sell your home? What's your situation? And she said, look, we live this part of Florida. We've moved to this side of the Florida. The house is empty. The house is vacant. The house doesn't need any repairs. It's in great shape. Why did you move? Because we're having a kid. We want to be closer to our family, to our mom and dad, grandparents. So we're there. Again, this property is vacant. It's a new home. It doesn't really need any repairs. It's ready to be rented out. The payments are current. So why is this seller motivated? Well, they're making double payments. They're about 3 to 4 hour drive to this property. They're an accidental landlord. They don't want to be a landlord. The house is now for sale and for rent because they're highly motivated. And this is a great opportunity, what I call a subject to deal, where they have about $20,000, $25,000 in equity too, where I could just take over their payments and help them move to the next chapter of their life. Because right now they're bleeding. What does that mean? Every month they got to pay double mortgage. Every month they got to cut that grass. They live like 4 hours away. They got to pay the electricity. They got to pay the insurance. They got to pay all this stuff on this property. And guess what? They're a young family. They need their money for their life. They can't afford to pay a mortgage here and a mortgage there. So this is a great example of another subject too. So simply put, people ask me, why do people want to sell their homes? It's because they're motivated. And motivation comes in two folds. You have financial motivation and you have emotional motivation. Okay, guys, click the like button. Let me know what state you're in from before we go ahead and go a little bit further. All right. Now I've talked about what is a subject to. I've talked about the benefits of a subject to. I've talked about why would sellers willing to let you take over their payments. And I didn't just come up with some generic examples like divorces, behind in payments. I give you 2 examples of 2 sellers that I'm constantly working with right now because of my students are bringing me these deals from my profit sharing coaching, because I showed them how to find deals in their backyards for free. So 2 deals. One is having a kid. They want to be closer to their family. They've already moved out. The house has $25,000 in equity. The other one is that husband passed away. Again, this house has over $30,000 in equity. Okay, more than that, and the lady has moved out, making payments, house is vacant, and these are great examples of subject to deals. Okay, now let's talk about the risk, because if you want to be your dreams, there's risk. You want to be an entrepreneur, there's risk. You want to write a book, there's risk. Guess what? If you want to be a real estate investor, there's risk. Now, if I just go out there and talk to the seller and write a piece of contract, purchase agreement, and give the seller $1 and tie this property up and then wholesale it to another cash buyer, then my risk on this situation is very, very little, maybe $1, very, very little. Now, my risk will increase as I do more levels up in investing. For example, if I buy this property from this seller and turn it into a rental property, then my risk is dramatically increases, because then my AC can break. Renters may not pay. I have to do evictions. I could get citations. Maybe the grass is growing long. Where if I just do what I call flipping paper, where I put it under contract and I quickly sell it, my risk is so low. So when we talk about risk, we have to understand that anything in life there's a risk associated with it. And we have to understand the level of risk. Like wholesaling a deal, my risk is extremely low, but there's still risk, versus if I buy the house and I'm going to be a landlord to it, okay? Because my risk goes a lot more. But the benefits go up a lot more. On a wholesaling deal, I'm just going to be in and out. I'm not going to make a lot of money. But on the passive cash flow, being a landlord, I'm going to get monthly payments. I'm going to build equity down the line. I'm going to be able to exit and get a lump sum of money. I'm going to get the tax benefits, etc. I'm going to get the depreciation, where in a wholesaling deal, I wouldn't be able to do that. Okay. So going back to the story, in anything we do, there's risk. Even if we're buying a deal like a subject to, or if we're doing a seller financing, there's risk with it. And I want you to understand that the risk is okay. When I eat my food, there's a risk that I can make choke and die, right? But it doesn't happen, but the risk is there, okay? And so for me, risk is part of life, and I'm okay with it. And I evaluate the risk and the reward, and then I make a decision. So to me, it's not risky at all. Now, there are some risks with buying houses subject to. One of the risks that everyone talks about, which I've never experienced, and I've been doing it since 2006, 7, 8, is the due on sell clause, what I call DOS. DOS. And DOS means due on sell clause. What that is, there's a clause on the deed of trust, DOT, right? On the DOT, there's a clause that says that if the borrower or the owner transfer his or her interest, then the bank has the option to accelerate or call the note due. So the bank has the option. Doesn't mean that they're going to exercise that option for many different reasons. One of the reasons is because interest rates today are a lot lower than if I, let's say, take over someone's payment that has a mortgage in 2016 or 2019, because there's 6-7% and today's 3%. So there's so many different reasons why I've never experienced this. Is the risk there? Yes, but the risk is a lot less, like this much, versus me renting the house out and getting a bad renter. The risk is a lot more there, okay? Or me getting hail damage on my roof. The risk is a lot more than the bank calling a note. Can it be done? Absolutely. Is it a risk for me? Yes. Is it a risk for the homeowner? Absolutely. Do I tell them this? Absolutely. I tell them in their face, over the phone, in email, in the contract, affidavit, everything. We tell them up front, because I want them to know that that's a risk for them, but also a risk for me. But the risk has never been present since my life of being an entrepreneur. Real estate investor since 2006. Okay. Can it happen? Absolutely. Do I think that it could happen in the future to me? Possibility. But I think, again, I'm going to have more bad renters than a bank calling the note in, especially if I'm paying the payments in time every month, because most of these banks have service providers. They're big companies. All they care about is the note performing. That's all they care about. It's the monthly coming in. Okay, because if they have to foreclose, they got to pay a foreclosure attorney, they got to pay a real estate agent, they got to pay higher insurance. Vandalism happens, then they got to do all this stuff, and then end of the day, they have to lend out that money at a lower interest rate because in 2019, we're at the lowest interest rate in the history of America. The history of America. So I don't see a benefit for the banks to want to call the note in. Now, if interest rates climb back to the 1980s, 18%, 70%, then sure, the banks will call the note in. I think more possibility because now they could foreclose on me at 3% interest rate or 6% and then turn around and lend me the note at 18%. Now, if the bank decides to foreclose on me on a deal, it's not like this. They'll send me a letter, say, hey, you have 30 days, we're going to accelerate. And when I have options, I will have options. I could quickly sell the house for cash. I could quickly refinance it. I could go to the bank and say, hey, guys, I've been making payments to you guys since 5 years, 6 years, or whatever the story may be. I made all the payments on time. Why don't you just refinance me? Right? I have the deed. I've been performing. I know the guy sold it to me and he transferred the deed. Right? But, why don't you just refinance it? So I have so many different options to use to protect myself if the bank decides to accelerate the loan. Now, there's specific strategies that I implement when I buy a house subject to decrease the seller's risk and my risk of the bank finding out and calling the note due. Okay. But if the bank ever calls me on the phone to say, hey, Mike, this is Bank of America. We know that you bought a house and the deed was transferred into your name. Is that correct? I'm going to look at them in the eye and say, yep. I have nothing to hide. Yeah. I mean, I took over the guy's payment. Right. If they want to accelerate the note, great. I'm not going to lie to them because then that'll be fraud. I'm not here to fraud anyone. I let the seller know. We give it to them in writing. We file that stuff at the county clerk's office. So it's public. Right. So, but if their bank calls me and says, Mike, did you transfer the note? I mean, did they transfer the deed into your name? Yes. All right. Are you the owner of this place? Yes. Are you making payments to this property? Yes. I'm not going to lie to them. Right. But I'm not going to go and tell them that, hey, I've done that. I mean, I'll file at the county clerk's office. If they have people at the county clerk's office looking at this stuff, then they'll know. But if they don't do their own due diligence and they never say anything and they keep accepting my money month after month, then they're okay with it. And again, since 2006, all the houses that I bought this way, not one bank called the note. All the banks are very happy to accept the monthly payments they came in. And at the end, when I cashed out the homes back in 2006, when I told you guys, hey, the market is really bad, I'm getting out of real estate, right? At that time, none of them had a problem. They took that big sum of money that we paid off when the loan was paid off. They took the monthly payments. Never had a problem with any of that. Now, there's some other risk that's really not talked about on the internet because most people don't understand subject twos. Okay, there's a lot of misconceptions about it, right? One of the risks that I personally realize in subject two is that I might buy a house from a home seller, right? And for example, I had one seller, they sold me their home. They were going through a divorce. 6 years later, they got back with the wife and now they want to get a loan. And they were calling me up saying, threatening me like, hey, if you don't cash out the loan, we're going to call the bank because they couldn't get a loan. And so I had to do some coaching with them and say, look, let me show you how to solve this problem. Let me take my bank statements to your mortgage broker and look and show them that you don't own this liability anymore, the old mortgage that I'm making payments on. And once I did all that, we were able to get a loan. So a real threat is that, simply put, that the seller situation may change 6 years, 10 years down the line, and maybe they'll come threaten you or try to arm you to cash out the loan for whatever reason. They want to buy a new home, or they know you make so much money now because now they can look at the banking statements and they can see you have $100,000 in equity. Like, hey, and they're mad about it or whatever. But at that time, there's a lot of options for me. I could quickly sell it because I have so much equity. I could quickly refinance it, whatever. Or I could just tell the seller, you know what, seller, screw you. I'll just fight you in court because we went to the title company. You agreed to this shit. Now, whatever I lose, I'm going to come after you. And I can go all different directions, right? I have the right to do that. So I have all these options. So I'm not really worried about the deal on sell. I might be more worried about the seller, and I have some strategies implemented because I saw these mistakes. I saw what sellers came back to me because their situation is different. And now I have some things I'm going to do in 2019 and moving forward that's going to protect me more. Okay. Now, if you want to learn from me what are those things are, then highly recommend joining my profit sharing on how to set it up so you can protect yourself more, right? So seller hits you up 6 years later, you say, look at this thing, look at this evidence I have, right? Or I didn't do that. Even I give a lot of disclosures, but now I think I have the next better thing. Now it may not work, but I think the next better thing is going to be more protective for me and the seller to help them remember, right, the situation they were in and why they sold me their home. All right, so now we talked about what is a subject to. Guys, click the like button. Let me know what state you're in. We talked about what a subject to is. We talked about some of the benefits of a subject to. We talked about why would sellers want to sell their home subject to. And we talked about some of the risk and about subject to. Now, let's talk about why I love buying subject twos. I love buying subject twos because I don't have to go the traditional way, okay? Which means that I don't have to use a real estate agent. I don't have to go borrow money from a bank, hard money lender, and I can work with homeowners direct. I can save homeowners and create a win-win situation for me. Another reason why I like subject to is because now it allows me to not only look for deep discounted properties. So because many people don't have a lot of equity in their properties in America. I mean, we're a debt-based society, right? So instead of only being able to look for deals to buy that are 60 cents on a dollar minus repairs, now I'm able to buy property at 80 cents, 75 cents, 90 cents, or even 100%, right? If the numbers make sense. If I get a massive cash flow, if I get a non-recourse loan, if I get 0% interest rate, then yeah, I'm willing to buy a house 100% on a dollar, but as long as I get to control the terms, right? So there's a lot of benefits for me buying houses subject twos. I don't have to deal with banks. I don't have to sign a personary note like a traditional way to do it. I get the amortization benefits of the seller already paying the monthly payment. So when I take over the loan, I'm not paying all the amortization, which means my monthly payments on that seller's existing mortgage, the payments I make is going toward principal reduction versus much interest where the bank takes it. Okay. So there's a lot of reasons I love subject to deals. Okay. The other main reason I like subject to deals is when someone puts my social security in there or my company EIN number in there, then there's no debt associated with me or with my company because the debt is not under my name. Okay. I just made the payments on someone else's debt. Okay. So this is very, very powerful because I know so many people that are walking around and they have millions of dollars in debt tagged to them, right? Where I don't have any debt. I don't sign up for debt. Other people have signed up for debt. And if they're motivated and they're willing to, sell me their property with their existing debt in place, great, we can do business. If not, I'll just give you cash for your house, but it has to be at a deep discount, and I'll let them choose. Okay. So there's a lot of reasons I love subject to deals. Another reason I love subject to deals because it can work for any kind of deal. If the house is free and clear, straight seller financing. If the house has high equity, subject to. If the house has medium equity, subject to. If the house has marginal equity, subject to. If the house has no equity, subject to. If the house has negative equity, subject to. Sometimes I might buy a house $10,000 upside down. But what if that house that's upside down $10,000 in today's market gives me $1,200 a month positive cash flow? I've seen deals like that where, the seller may be upside down, but they have such an ultra low interest rate, like a VA loan, whatever. And in that area is a hot market. What if it gives me $1,200 a month? Would anyone here will buy a deal that you get $1,200 positive cash flow month after month that has $10,000 negative equity? If you're a fix and flipper, no, it doesn't make sense. But if you're a buy and hold guy, shit, $1,200 a month times 10 months, and the other two, one for vacancy, one for property management, that is a lot of money, especially if I'm able to just buy this house with their loan value. I don't have to give them anything. And they're not behind in payments. I just step in. The first month I put $1,200 into my pocket after I pay the mortgage, after I pay the insurance, after I pay the interest, after I pay the taxes, $1,200 positive cash flow. Absolutely. I will do that. Okay. Especially if it's a beautiful home and I don't have to put no money into it. Hell yeah. Why not? So if it has negative equity, I can still do a subject to. So subject twos are very, very powerful because it doesn't matter what type of situation the seller in, you could do a subject to. Now, someone that has a lot of equity or someone that has their house free and clear, you have to sweeten the tea. So I always sweeten the tea for these people. Now, someone that's a deadbeat that's behind a year, I'm not going to sweeten the tea for them because by me just saving their butt, by just saving their credit is enough. Because when their house goes to foreclosure, they're going to have bad credit for so many years down the line. Their insurance is going to go up. Their cell phone is going to go up. If they were want to rent, it's going to go up. Everything that they touch, is credit base is going to go up. So someone that has negative equity or marginal equity, whatever, they're not going to get any money in the pocket. Someone that has house free and clear, they're going to get some money because they're going to finance me and I'm going to sweeten the deal because I rather pay the seller versus getting a loan. Because when I pay a seller, I could get 0% interest rate. I can get non-recourse deals where I'm not going to be able to do that with the Bank of America. I'm not going to be able to do that with hard money ABC. I'm not going to be able to do that with private money. I'm not going to be able to do any of that. So if I have to fork over, let's say, a couple of grand to buy a house 80% on a dollar via seller financing, that seller owns the house free and clear, oh well, right? Because if I had to go and get a mortgage traditionally, I would have to pay a lot of money down because it's not going to be owner occupied. I'm going to be using it as a rental property. And I got to pay a lot of money down. I got to pay a higher interest rate. So if I have to give the bank this much and I give the seller that owns the house free and clear this much, and there's no recourse loan, I have 0% interest rate, so many other benefits, shoot, I already give the seller this much versus the bank 20% down, right? All right, guys, one other thing before we get out of here. If you're interested in finding deals where you're able to buy via seller financing, or if you're interested in finding sellers where you can buy their house at a deep discount, or if you're a fix and flipper and you're tired of paying wholesalers all this wholesaling money, then I highly recommend joining my profit sharing. We meet once a week, right? Every Saturdays from 10 to 11. You get all the help you need to find, to structure, to negotiate, etc. I'll even fund your deals, and I'll help you get that deal closed because when you make money, I make money. It doesn't get any better than that. All right, guys. Let's see. Okay, that's a very good question. Thanks for leaving that question. It says, it's Bikinchi. I can't say your name. It says, he said, why purchase a home today if you're heading into a recession? Okay, that's a very, very good question. So he's saying that, if there's a fire, why run into the fire? Okay, that's a very good question. All right. And then the other thing is the houses in Florida are beyond expensive and mostly foreclosed on. Okay. And that's the second part. Now, why would I want to buy a house going to a recession? Because no one else wants to buy it. What you said is exactly right. Because you think it's not a good time, that's why it's a good time for me. Because you and so many other people are going to think this is not a good time. Because you and so many people are going to be running out, I'm going to be running it. Just like when Bitcoin was $3,500 and I was buying Bitcoin and nobody else was buying Bitcoin, why the fuck did I run into the fire? Because now it's $12,000. See, that's how the money is made. The money is made when there's a fire, right? When everyone thinks it's not the right thing to do, when everyone's going left, you got to go right. And so to answer your question, my friend, is why would I get into real estate now? Because there is a recession now. Because we're about to crash now. That's why I'm getting into real estate. Now, that brings me to your question. Why would I buy a house that may not have any equity? Well, because we have ultra low interest rates and rentals at all-time high. Thanks to the Federal Reserve, central bankers printing, cost of goods are just more and more and more expensive. So with interest rate being at ultra low means that I'm going to get massive cash cow from these properties. In 2006, 2009, interest rates were 6-7%. I was able to get $200 or $300 plus per property. Today, interest rate on a 30-year mortgage is like 2 or 3%. So whatever I was getting before, double that. Okay, so I was getting $300 before, now $600 plus. So I'm willing to buy a property that's, let's say, that has no equity, but it's going to give me $1,200 a month cash flow. It's going to give me $750 a month cash flow. It's going to give me $800 a month cash flow because I'm not going to sell it right now. While everyone else thinks this is a bad time or they're going to start selling the properties, I'm going to buy, right? And I'm not a fix and flipper, so I don't need to sell it. You see, one of the problems with a recession or when there's a crash, you don't have to participate in it, right? When Bitcoin, well, like I started buying Bitcoin when it crashed at 11,500. Guess what? When it hit $6,000, I did not participate in selling my coins, man. When it hit 3,500, I did not participate in selling my coins. Guess what I did? I was buying, right? You understand what I'm saying? So I don't, in 2006, when I bought a house, if I would have sold it, maybe I would have lost money. But I did not participate in the recession. I let everyone else participate. I was buying, right? So when I buy a house today, let's say it has no equity, great. I'm not selling today. I'm not a fix and flipper. I'm not trying to buy and quickly sell it. I'm trying to buy it and rent it, right? And get massive cash flow from it. $600, $700, $1,200 a month. So to answer your question, this is the best time for me to get into real estate because everyone, and as more and more people believe that the recession is here, as they start televising it, then as the markets start going down, everyone's going to exit, and that's why I'm going to go in, right? And I'm going to go in not because the values are going up. I'm going to go in because the values are coming down. And there's going to be massive people trying to sell. There's going to be massive inventory. People are going to losing their jobs because corporations bought their own stocks instead of improving their products or services. People are going to be losing their equities in their homes, their equities in the 401, and even pensions are going to go bust. And so it's going to be a massive tornado of foreclosures, right? And instead of them going to foreclosure and the banks getting rich, I'm going to create a win-win situation where I just take over sellers' payments, start making cash flow today. Like if the seller, let's say the seller has 0% equity, but it's making $1,200 a month positive cash flow, I'm down for that deal. Now, I'd rather buy a house 50 cents on a dollar, but sometimes they're not 50 cents on a dollar deals. Well, then the other option is, do I make cash flow? So I am looking at equity and cash flow, not just equity, right? So if the property is going to make me $750 a month, in 10 months, that's $7,500. I left 2 months out. One is for vacancy, one is for property management. Really, if I'm going to manage it, I'm probably going to keep both of it, but I still leave it out. Shit, I'll buy houses all day long. If I don't have to get a loan, I don't have to put my social security up, I don't have to put no money down, maybe pay the seller $1,000 for closing costs and that's it, and I make $750 a month from it, shit, all day long. Bring me deals like that, and I'll buy your deals, guys, all day long, right? Bring me beautiful homes that are not in war zones that seller wants to sell. They don't have equity, but they make massive cash cow. It's a hot area, and I'll buy that like this, okay? Now, of course, I want to buy houses that have massive equity. I'm not going to lie to you. But it doesn't matter because as long as I find a motivated seller, I'm willing to make money, right? And I have the strategies to make money. Perfect, man. He said that, he made X amount of dollars in buying Bitcoin. So then you know what I'm talking about, right? So when the market was $19,000, $18,000, all these fools were like running up there to buy it, right? Even my old people, hey, man, you do this, right? But guess what? When it hit 11,000, people weren't buying it. When it hit 6,000, people weren't buying it. When it hit 3,500, people were not buying it. So I guess you understand that when people don't want it, that's where the money is made, right? The money is made when there's blood in the street. The money is made in the recession and the depression. Now, there's ways to make money if the market is up, if the market is sideways, if the market is down. But I make most of my money in the bloodiest streets because I could work just this much and make so much. Where on the side, when the economy is going sideways or going up, everyone can make money. I'd rather just chill and enjoy my family. Go ride bikes, go to the park, right? Because the moves that I make in that winter season when no one is planning is going to exponentially grow. where I was able to buy houses in the last crash, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, etc., where I was just taking over sellers' payments, giving them $1,000, and then each one of these houses made me almost $100,000 in equity cash out. It made me 70 to another $100,000 in monthly passive income. When you add that up, where could I have gone in just for $1,000 or $3,000 or less? Do that? Nowhere. And I didn't have to get a loan. I didn't even have to use my own money. Just very little, $3,000. Let's say I give it to the seller $1,000 and I paid their closing, or they were behind $3,000 or something like that. But most of the deals I got into was like $3,000 or less. So where can I put $3,000, make $100,000 in equity cash out on most of the houses, and make almost another $100,000 in passive income in the 6-7 years of ownership, plus get tons of tax benefits, tons of deductions? I couldn't do that anywhere, right? I couldn't do that in gold. I couldn't do that in the business. I couldn't do that in stocks. I couldn't do that anywhere. And I got to learn a whole lot about the business, how to be a landlord, how to take a risk, how to do evictions, all that stuff, right? So, no, when there's a recession, it's very, very risky. You can lose your shirt. But I like a risk. Actually, I love risk. That's what makes me a lion. Because when the building is on fire, I get my most courage at that time. And when the things are great, I'm the lazy dude just chilling back, right? Chilling back. But when the thing's on fire, when everyone's scared, man, I'm rolling. Because I've learned that's the time to make money. Not this much money, but exponential money when there's blood in the streets. And I'm so excited that we have blood in the streets, guys. We have Deutsche Bank going bust. That bank has, I can't even tell you, billions and trillions of dollars in derivatives. When that thing busts, you betcha America's going to feel it, man. You betcha Bank of America is going to feel it. You betcha Wells Fargo is going to feel it. You betcha all these banks are going to feel it. You betcha Wall Street's going to feel it, right? And what does that mean? Well, it means what I've been forecasting since 2016. We're in a massive bubble all around, and we're about to bust. Great opportunities to come in. I'm so excited. Thanks for watching, guys. Click the like button. Don't forget, join my profit sharing. We meet once a week, 10 to 11. I help you do deals. I even fund your deals. I even help you talk to the seller to get your deals. I'm super hyped about this upcoming crash, and I want to buy deals from the left to the right. So if you're in California, you're in Colorado, you're in Oklahoma, you're in Kansas, you're in Chicago, you're in Georgia, you're in Florida, you're in Dallas, you're in Denver, come on, Las Vegas, join me, because I want to do deals in your backyard. I will fund your deals. I will help you do deals, because this is the best time, in my opinion, not financial advice. I want to buy the deal. So if you don't want to buy it, you're scared, let me show you how to find these deals. You bring it to me, and I'll get you some checks so you can cash out, guys. Thanks for watching, guys. Much love. Click the like button. Have a great night.